We're back here on TV3Newday, DSTV channel 279. Time to talk health. It is the month of October, sometimes dubbed Pinktober. It's all about breast cancer awareness. It's a silent killer for many people. About 70% of women diagnosed with breast cancer in Ghana will find themselves in the advanced stages. Early detection is very, very important. We were joined by Dr. Hannah-Lisa Tete this morning to talk about breast cancer. What else to look for? Aside lumps, what are some of the other signs and symptoms as well? We'll also be busting some myths. Good morning to you, Doc.
Morning, Helen. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Fine.
Of course, as I mentioned, it is Pinktober. We're talking all things breast cancer.
Yeah.
I know for many people, they're familiar with lumps. We know that if you find a suspicious lump or mass in your breast, we're told to go and seek medical help. But what else can women in particular look out for as concerns breast cancer?
Okay, so I think that first of all, you need to know your breast. Most people don't know their breast. They don't know how their breast looks like. You should be able to be walking from bed and then they ask you which breast is bigger than the other, and you should be able to tell. Normally, most women have their left breast about 20% bigger than their right breast.
Why is that?
It's development. But most people don't even know unless there's a major difference. So if you know your breast, then you can tell when there's a difference. You can tell when there's a difference in shape, size, appearance, and then feel. So that's a very important thing. But the lumps are something that most people are fussy about, but there are so many people who just start by being asymptomatic. When we say it's asymptomatic, there are no symptoms at all. Some of it is diagnosed on mammogram. So there are instances where people have had a mammogram done, that's an investigation done, and then 2 or 3 years later, the lump develops. And so that's why we keep on preaching, know your breast, self-breast awareness, as we call it. Know your breast so that when there's a change in the shape, size, appearance, and feel, you'll be able to tell.
Okay, so it's important, you say, to know your breast.
Yes, very well,
actually. Be well acquainted with your breast. That way, if anything changes, you can see. Now, you mention shape, you also mention size. So that a change in any of these things could indicate that maybe there is something malicious happening? So the
sudden change is what we are looking at, because if your left breast is obviously bigger than your right breast, and for some people there's a major difference. So if that's how it naturally is, then you won't be bothered. But if your breasts seem to be around the same size, and then all of a sudden one breast becomes very big as compared to the other, that's a sudden change. Now that's a change in shape and size. Now appearance of your breast. Normally our breasts, you don't really see the veins on the breast, but then all of a sudden you start seeing enlarged veins. You call it dilated veins. It's something you should be concerned about. Or you see ulcers, or what we call sores, or skin changes. There's some redness, or what they call pod orange. So your skin becomes like the peel or the skin of an orange. All these changes. Or you notice that there's a particular part of your breast which has been drawn inward. Then there's a problem. Then there's something that is holding the skin and drawing it inward. Then now your nipple. Naturally, there are some who have everted nipples. So today when you go home, go and check. Are your nipples everted? Naturally, are they out, pointed outwards? Are your nipples flat? Or are they inverted? That's just a few people. So if you are naturally somebody with everted nipples, your nipples are pointing outwards, and then all of a sudden you wake up one day and they've been drawn inward, then there's a problem. Naturally, your nipples are not supposed to discharge unless, of course, you're breastfeeding. And a few people during ovulation and then during their menses, but even that is not like a major discharge, it's something really little. Then you wake up one day and then your nipples are discharging, or there's a major, like there's a bloody discharge from your nipple, then there's something wrong. So the most important thing is knowing your breast. So when there's a difference, you'll be able to tell. You know, during different times of the month, and maybe if you're ovulating or different parts of your menstrual cycle, your breast feels different. So that's why we advise that you do the exam around the same time. So if you felt your breast and it feels lumpy, or you know that, okay, then it's probably because I'm ovulating or because it's this time of the month. But if it's not that time of the month and all of a sudden you feel a lump here that you can't feel in the other breast, then it becomes suspicious. So the lump is just, I mean, it is important, but there's so many other things you can look out for. it's not just about pain too. Some people feel no pain at all or no heaviness at all. Like I said, sometimes it's diagnosed incidentally. So you go to the hospital and they say, oh, okay, go and do this, and then it's seen. And that's why it's important for you to know your breast and identify the changes.
Well, that's important, because I'm sure this morning there are people who didn't even realize maybe that your
One
nipples
breast, yes.
could give a telltale sign. So that if you said your nipples normally point outwards, and
Yes.
for some reason you wake up in the morning and they're now sort of inverted, going inwards, that should give you some indication. You also mentioned about the discharge. You
Yeah.
could even have maybe blood, you say,
Yeah.
coming out of the nipple.
Yeah.
These are all signs to look out for. But you also mentioned that some people are asymptomatic, so that they won't even feel any lumps or any changes maybe until it's too late. And now what about partners also getting to know their partner's breast? You mentioned you have to know your breast well, but quite often health experts will tell us that the partners of women who are diagnosed with breast cancer, in fact, will bring these symptoms to the hospital.
Yes, in fact, most of the time it's the partners that are able to diagnose the lumps and the changes. So either way, the most important thing for us is that the diagnosis is made, but we can't rely on your partner so much. We ask you to do your breast examination at least once every month, so you'll be able to tell, and that way you are doing it well. Most of the time when a partner identifies it, it's something incidental, so maybe through the sexual act or something, and then he finds out that, okay, your breast feels different. But if you make a conscious effort that on this day of every month I'm going to examine my breast, then you have something to compare it to. So last month I didn't feel this month I'm feeling this, let me note it down, then you bring it to us and then we take it from there.
That's a great way to go about it. So you can even mark it in your calendar.
Yes.
Maybe the 20th of every month, you'll check both breasts, provided that's outside of your menstrual cycle. That way you get an accurate, I guess, reading of the breast. But there's so many myths concerning breast cancer. If I tell you, Doc, some of the opinions I've heard about what causes breast cancer, it'll surprise you. Why do you think there are so many myths concerning especially breast cancer, and what causes it?
I think it's only natural that people have their own speculations about certain things that cause fear. Breast cancer kills women, and so everybody wants to seek information. Let me just take it back to COVID. When there was COVID, it was scary. People were dying. So everybody wanted to give some form of information. And so yes, people who use other channels to put information out there, some without verification and all of that. So it's very normal that people have certain fears, and they project those fears by giving information that may not be the right information. So I think it's actually normal, and that's why we encourage positive education, reading from the right sources, and going to the clinic or health personnel when you have any doubts in your mind.
Because people will often go onto the internet. As soon as they feel something, they're on WebMD or some of these other platforms, and they'll tell you, listen, these symptoms, you're probably going to die. And that might not even be the case. But with things like finding a lump in your breast, is it always the case that if you do find a lump in your breast, it's a cancerous one?
No, like I said, there are different breast conditions. There are different things that can affect the breast of a woman or a man. And so there are different diagnosis or differential diagnosis for a lump in your breast. So not every breast is cancerous. Some of them are benign. When we say it's benign, I mean it's not cancerous. So not every breast lump means that you have breast cancer. That's why you need to bring it to the clinic, and then we look at it and we'll be able to tell you whether this is cancerous or not. Sometimes it's not cancerous, we just take it out and then you're good to go.
But a health professional has to do that test to find out.
Yes.
Right.
We even do it with investigation, so we can add an ultrasound scan to it. So all these investigations help us know what kind of lump it is.
It is. Okay, well, we hit the streets. We wanted to find out what the people know about breast cancer. Let's take a look at what results we found on the streets.
Talking about breast cancer, when ladies, especially women, they handle money, especially they don't wash their hands, and they handle money by putting it into their brow. The brow just compresses the money to their skin, and touching the breast, it can cause breast cancer.
Some people say that if you smoke weed, it'll be cancer. Some people too, if you put money, it'll be cancer. Some people too, they say drink something, so they bring cancer.
As for me, what I've been hearing about breast cancer is like if woman used to put phones or money into the breast, that one can cause breast cancer. We have some part of bra, there is iron there. Like if the iron come out and you don't remove it and it has been hurting you, that one also can give breast cancer.
I've never heard a male suffering from breast cancer before. All that I've heard about women. What I know that causes breast cancer is when mostly the women that sell at the market, when they put money at their bra, that causes the infection of breast cancer. But I don't know the actual medical effect of the breast cancer.
My mom have told me that if you wear a bra for a long time, you get a breast cancer. And you put money too on your breast, you get a breast cancer. We shouldn't allow any guy to press our breast. That once you get a breast cancer.
All right, and those were some of the myths that we found out when we hit the streets. Doc, I know that we had a little chat whilst we were watching that.
Yes.
So a myriad of myths, people
Yes.
saying things like if you put money in your bra, you could get breast cancer. If you wear the same bra for too long, somebody even said, a student at the end, if you let boys touch your breast, you might even get breast cancer. We also had a gentleman who said that males do not get breast cancer. Let's start busting some of these myths. Do men get breast cancer?
Yes, men get breast cancer. And the thing is that even with men, when they get breast cancer, the mortality is really bad. So they actually mostly get advanced breast cancer and then they end up dying. They don't do too well because we don't, today we're talking about breast cancer. It seems like we're talking about women. Most hospitals are all about women. So it's easier to diagnose and detect it early in women than with men. And for men, it's actually scary because at least women, we have more fat tissue. So, but them, it's just the flat chest is there, and then it starts spreading, and it spreads very fast. And so, though the percentage is very small, 1%, if it is you, and you are part of that 1%, then it's 100% to you.
So, of course, breast cancer can affect men. Another myth that we had, if you put money in your bra, you could get breast cancer. Is there any validity to this?
Well, I've heard that. I think that people just want to discourage, like the girl who was talking about her mother, people just want to discourage certain things that we do, certain habits that we do. So they associate it to certain things. But there hasn't been any real study to associate putting money in your bra to causing breast cancer. None that I have seen.
Okay, we also had one about wearing your bra for too long. Again, that definitely doesn't cause breast cancer. But one that is sometimes quite controversial, putting your mobile phone into your bra. You know, for many women, the bra can also double as a purse. You have the money there, you put your phone there, you might put your car keys there if you're in a rush outside the house. I know many of you can identify with that. But putting your phone in your bra, can that cause you breast cancer?
Okay, so I know there's been a lot of discussion on this. There's some radiation that is emitted from your phone, but the radiation is said to be really, really small. It's even sometimes smaller than taking a flight. So because the radiation is very small, there hasn't been any study to link that to causing breast cancer. But of course, this is not to say that today, as we haven't had any study, tomorrow it wouldn't happen, because of course it's emitting some radiation. And so it's important that there are certain things that we do not do. Though there has been no link to the radiation from your phone causing breast cancer, no study to back it. You know, we deal with studies. If studies are backing it, then we say yes. Though there has been nothing like that, we don't know if there'll be something like that in the future. And please get a purse and put your, putting all
your valuables in the purse. You know, sometimes you need to rush out the house, so you put all your items in there.
I get it. And a certain woman was saying, if you're walking in a dark place, you put it there so that nobody will come and take it from you. I mean, these are just once in a while instances that we can make excuses for. But to say that
don't
every
make that
day,
your daily purse.
No, please.
Okay, well, Doc said it here. Don't make your bra your daily purse. We're also hearing some people believe that a mammogram can cause one to get breast cancer. I don't know why people feel as though that is a way that you could get breast cancer.
Yeah, because of the radiation that is emitted, but it's very small. The radiation emitted is very, very small. And like I told you about the fact that mammograms detect a lump even way 2 or 3 years before the lump actually starts developing. So it's something that I think that's a myth that we need to bust, and people need to understand that mammograms are lifesavers. They've saved people, they have a chance of saving people 20% from breast cancer. It helps in early detection. So please, it doesn't cause breast cancer. It actually helps detect a lump that may not even be felt, and then helps you in your treatment and then prognosis finally. So it doesn't.
It doesn't spread
No,
breast
please.
cancer. Now, the mammogram is that device where you go and sort of place the breast,
Yes.
and then
It takes images,
It takes the
yes.
images of that. Some people saying that it causes breast cancer. Doc, you say that is not the case.
No.
If you have the opportunity to get a mammogram, you should go for it, because you
Yeah.
can even detect things that, normal sort of examination might not actually detect. What are some of the maybe very out there myths that you hear in your line of work?
Okay, so we've talked about the bra. The bra is a very common one. People say don't wear a bra. If you wear a bra, you get breast cancer. So it's just something that the media was pushing. There came a time where it was fashionable for your nipples to show on your clothes. So the media was pushing it, and people believed, and then people also think that if you do not have a family history,
That's
if
right.
there's nobody in your family, you can't get it. Please, that's not true. People with risk factors like a family history, a first-degree relative, your mother or your sister getting it, are like 10% of the diagnosis. And I always tell people who say that remember that in every family there was one person who started it first. So you could be the first in your family. Yes, most of them will say, God forbid to this. I say, yes, God forbid. But I'm also explaining something to you. So the fact that there's nobody in your family with a breast cancer doesn't mean that you do not have a risk. Once you are a female who is growing, you have a 12.5% risk of breast cancer. Because being a female is one of the risk factors. The older you get is also one of the risk factors. So just know that once you are sitting here as a female, you are at risk of breast cancer. Once you are a male with breasts, you are at risk of breast cancer. So once you have breast, whether big, small, flat, you are at risk of breast cancer. And people also believe that there's nothing they can do to reduce their risk of breast cancer, because like I said, once you're a female, you're at risk of breast cancer. But there are things that you can do, some lifestyle modifications that you can do to help you. It's like alcohol has been associated with breast cancer. So it's important that you reduce your alcohol intake. Obesity.
Now, is this a recent study connecting alcohol and...
It's always been there.
Okay.
And smoking, it's associated with all cancers.
That's
so
right.
once you smoke, as for smoking, we won't say reduce it, we'll just say stop. Then obesity. So you need to be able to maintain a healthy weight. We're not asking, so that's what makes slim people believe that they can't get breast cancer, because they say, oh, I'm slim, and obesity is a risk factor.
So that's another myth that you also hear.
Yes, a myth that once I'm slim, I can't get breast cancer. No, obesity is a risk factor, is associated to it, but it doesn't mean that once you're slim, you can't get it. So for those who are obese or a bit overweight, what you can do to help yourself is reduce how much you're eating, exercise, eat healthy foods, grains, vegetables, fruits. They've been linked to helping reduce the risk of breast cancer. So those things are some of the things that, some of the myths that we've heard, and then how you can go about it as well.
When we talked about the risk factors, you talked about older women sort of increasing their chances. There are some myths out there that young women, young men cannot get breast cancer. Is this true?
No, it's not true. It's not true. It's just that when we talk about the risk factors, we are saying who is more likely. So when people are reading about the risk factors, there's one thing I would want them to have at the back of their minds. These risk factors are just indicating who is more likely to get it.
It doesn't make you or I exempt. It's just that these are the list of people who...
Yes, you are more likely to get it if your father, there's another thing too, if your father had breast cancer and you're a woman, then you're at a higher risk. Now, if your family member, first-degree relative, your mother, your sister, had ovarian cancer or tubal cancer, they are also linked to breast cancer as well. Yes.
I see. What about people who have had some type of breast modification, so plastic surgery? Does that increase their chances of getting breast cancer?
So for cancer, we're looking at everything in totality. Plastic surgery in itself may not increase your risk, because sometimes the plastic surgery is corrective. So as we're talking about the breast, an example would be somebody who is heavily endowed or blessed with breast and has so much, and it gives the person, yeah, that's how you say it, and gives the person so much backache.
Right.
We would reduce the breast so that the person has a healthier life and is able to go about their normal day-to-day activities. So it's not all plastic surgery that is negative, and doing a plastic surgery does not necessarily mean that you're at risk of breast cancer. There are people who actually go take out, for those who have very high risk of breast cancer, so grandmother had it, sister has had it, mother has had it, they see it coming, they go take out everything and then put in silicone so that they reduce their risk at all. So there hasn't been any link to plastic surgery and breast cancer.
So that the implants doesn't mean that if you have an implant, for example, it doesn't automatically mean
no,
you're
even
going
sometimes after removing the breast, after mastectomy, we put implants there so that the person can still enjoy their life and not feel so bad about not having
breasts. Because for many women, you know, your breasts are very personal to you. You know, they've been with you your whole life. They serve a myriad of purposes. And, you know, some of the myths that people hear about breast cancer, they think, oh, as soon as I get breast cancer, that means I'm going to have to chop off my breast. And that isn't always the case.
Not it. That's why we preach early detection. Because if it's seen as a very small lump, localized, that's found in just a particular place, it will be cut, the lump will be taken off, you'll be given some medications and treatment, and you're okay. But if you wait for it to, you know, some people, the thing is, when they come to the clinic and you tell them, they'll say, oh, they're going to think about it, they'll be back, and they'll be back in 2 or 3 years. By which time they come and they are coughing, meaning that it's spread to their lungs, they're having severe backache, meaning that it's spread to their spine, or they've lost so much weight. So meaning that the cancer has spread, by which time, even if we take it out, there's not much we can do.
Now, like you said.
And another thing too is, I just want to use this opportunity to tell the men, please allow your women to have mastectomy if need be, because that's another challenge we face as well. If a woman has breast cancer, she can't make the decision on her own. And I agree with speaking to your partners about it, but asking permission and the partners denying them of permission makes them come later on in a very terrible state. So I think that the men should allow them to, at least if it's a mastectomy that would save her, have it early, or if the lump will be removed, have it early so that her life is preserved.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Hannah-Lisa. Today we've busted a lot of myths. I know that many of you had heard about 5G and telephones and wearing the same bra over and over again. Today we hope that you walk away with some new information or some reinforcement of what you already know about breast cancer. It is still October. It is still Pinktober. Early detection is the key. So go and get your breasts checked. Make sure you're acquainted with them. It's very important. We want to see all our mums, aunties, best friends, in fact, our dads, uncles, all of us safe and entering into the new year. We're going to take a very quick break. Don't go anywhere. This is still TV3 New Day.